Well, hi there, everybody. This is Dan Cerrucci. We're live in the studio. I haven't been live on here on Facebook and Twitter in a while. I hope you're having a good summer. I hope you're enjoying yourself. And I hope you have visited or are visiting some interesting places, places that are enlightening you and opening your mind and introducing you to new adventures. I was very sorry to be seeing and reading the news about Hawaii and the island of Maui and the little town or the city, if you will, of Lahaina. And if any of you have been to Maui, I was there quite a few years ago. I guess everybody makes a trip to Hawaii at one point or another. And I do remember Lahaina as a very charming, lovely old town. Um, and they just say that it's been completely devastated. There were 36 people dead so far. It's very, very sad. And that the town, is pretty much leveled. That is the old town, the little village there. And the wonderful banyan tree, which is I believe, the oldest and largest in the world, has been destroyed by the fire. And that's very, very sad. That's a very sad development. I saw a report on tonight on one of the cable cable news networks. And lately I've been pretty much watching Newsmax or News Nation. And I believe this was on News Nation with Elizabeth Vargas. And she interviewed a man who was staying with his family, and certain members of the family went to the grocery store and they left the grandfather and two little children back at the hotel. They were staying at a Marriott Vacation Club hotel. And he's yet to be reunited with the grandfather of the children and the two little children. He's been trying to contact them to no avail. It was a very heart-wrenching story. But there's a chaotic situation there now with thousands of people trying to get off the island, tourists as well. And if you've ever been there, it's a relatively small airport. Carol Cerrucci was telling me that she remembers the airport as being pretty much open air. Okay. So we certainly hope that people are able to, that as many people as possible can be rescued and that people are able to get off the island. And what a shame it is that I think the latest count, as I said, is 36. And we don't know how much higher that's going to go. I'm waiting for our guest tonight. I'm supposed to have a guest. I'm waiting for him to come into the studio. And I've been checking. I've sent him several messages. So, Joe, if you're watching, will you please click on the link and come into the studio? Because we would like to get on with our interview. In the meantime, while I'm waiting and while you're waiting, I want to join with my friend Matt Rooney in raising the issue of the very sad passing of New Jersey Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. The issue that Matt has raised relative to Sheila Oliver's passing is simply this, that she was serving as acting governor of the state. I guess it was sometime last week. And Governor Murphy was gone. He was at his luxurious Italian villa. He has two homes in Europe, one in Germany, where he was United States ambassador at one time, and one in Italy. And the governor was gone. He was at his annual summer sojourn, if you will, in his luxurious villa in Italy. And Sheila Oliver was serving as the acting governor. And she, just like that, was admitted to hospital. And the president of the Senate, I think Scuteri, I think his name is, became the acting governor. And then the next day, we were told that Sheila Oliver had died. I think she's 71 or 72, in her early 70s she was. We didn't know anything about whether she had been ill prior to this, whether she was having a health issue or anything. And after it was announced that she died, they said they did not give the reason for her death. And they said, we ask that you respect her family and respect their privacy at this time. Well, Matt Rooney, since then, has raised the issue of wanting to know the circumstances surrounding the death of Sheila Oliver. His argument is that she was serving as acting governor of the state at the time. She was an important elected official, the second highest elected official in New Jersey. In addition to being the lieutenant governor, she served as the head of one of the most important departments in the state government, that being the State Department of Community Affairs. And she was commissioner of the State Department of Community Affairs and a member of the governor's cabinet. So she was a very important elected official. She had been for decades. She had been elected to various offices. But at this, she was at the zenith of her career, if you will. And Matt has raised the issue that, he thinks that the people of New Jersey, the people who paid her salary, and the people who she answered to, had a right to know, were entitled to know the cause of her death. And so far, no one else has really raised that issue. Matt has written about it again. I join Matt in reiterating this question and raising the issue that I think we need to know. Oh, I see the death toll in the wildfires in Hawaii is up to 53 now. Oh my goodness, up to 53. And I hate to say this, but I have a funny feeling it's going to go up further. But to get back to Sheila Oliver, we're now in the middle of a 3-day period of mourning where she's lying in state in Trenton. And then I believe she's going to lie in state in Newark. She lie in state in the state capitol rotunda in Trenton. And then I believe in Newark. And then there's going to be a Catholic mass for her, presided over by the Archbishop of Newark. So there'll be 3 days. There's going to be a very big farewell celebration of the life of Sheila Oliver, the first only the second lieutenant governor in the history of the state of New Jersey recently started having a lieutenant governor. Prior to the Chris Christie administration, we didn't have a lieutenant governor. That was the first time. And so she's only the second lieutenant governor in the history of New Jersey, the first Black woman to serve as lieutenant governor, the highest ranking, highest elected Black to serve in New Jersey government, and the highest elected Black woman as well to serve in New Jersey government. She's going to be an appropriate celebration of her life. All the flags will be flown at half-staff for, I believe it's 30 days. But we still don't know how she died, the cause of death. And, you know, I mean, I respect the privacy of the family, but she was a public figure. And I think at some point, perhaps they could wait until after the 3 days, I don't know. We should have some details or some, it happened so quickly, so suddenly, or so it would seem. And I have to say that the news media in New Jersey doesn't seem to be very curious about this for whatever reason. This is a common situation with the current administration. The news media gives them a pass, doesn't really probe very much, and these things are simply allowed to drift. So I want to commend Matt for raising this issue. I'm going to cross-post on my blog the most recent thing that he has written about it. And I want to urge you also to tune into Matt. First of all, go to the Save Jersey blog, savejersey.com. It's a wonderful website. It's just wonderful if you're interested in New Jersey at all. If you live in New Jersey or you once lived in New Jersey, so many people have moved out of New Jersey. Are you curious about this endlessly fascinating, most densely populated state in the Union, a state that has given us so many characters, so many inimitable characters over its long history, and so many notable persons, so many famous persons, so many world famous persons, so many accomplished persons, okay? And some people of notoriety as well. Some infamous people, in addition to famous people, infamous people, but many great authors, writers, journalists, artists, thinkers, great thinkers, inventors, all the way back to Thomas Edison and beyond that, intellectuals of all sorts, as I said, entertainers, musicians, singers, of course, not the least of which was Frank Sinatra, of course, and so many others. So I'm saying this by way of pay attention to the Save Jersey blog, go there, and there's new stuff on there every day, and it's uniquely New Jersey. Matt is as I am, is a New Jersey native. He's a Jersey guy. Believe me, he's the quintessential Jersey guy through and through. So go to his website and listen to him every Sunday night on 1210 a.m. in Philadelphia, one of the leading talk stations in the country, okay, which is also online at Odyssey, Audacy. Odyssey is the name of the broadcasting group that they're part of. And you can listen to Matt every Sunday evening from 6 p.m. till 10 p.m. And he has wonderful guests, and it's great conversation. I've been on there a few times. I'm, full disclosure, I've been on there a few times, but he's had a lot better guests than me. Believe me, it's an amazing lineup of guests and interesting talk from Matt. And as I say, I want to commend him for raising this issue. There's another thing I want to touch upon. I don't know where our guest is tonight that I was planning on having on. I'm going to check one more time. At this point, he has not responded to me. I don't know if he's been trying to enter the studio to log on, but it seems to me that he would have responded to me on Facebook, where I've been keeping in touch with him. He said he was looking forward to it. Maybe he's running a little late. I can perfectly understand that. He's a gentleman farmer, so who knows what may have happened. He's up there in Sussex County, in the northernmost portion of our state. So maybe there was a storm up there. Maybe there was an outage. I honestly don't know, but I want to move to something else while we're here and while I hopefully have your attention tonight. And that is a piece that I wrote about Cherry Hill Township, which is where I live here in South Jersey. And it's called "For Cherry Hill's Next Mayor, 5 Big Worries." You can see it at my website, dancerucci.com. By the way, my website is now celebrating, or is about to celebrate, its sweet 16, like 16-year anniversary, which will come up later this year. And we hope to make quite a to-do about it. This website, dancerucci.com, you see I have it listed here under my name. We have posted every single day, including weekends and holidays. Every single day we've posted something on that site for almost 16 years now. And we have had, I'm very proud of this, 4.5 million page views. We were pioneers in blogging, and we're very, very happy with the response we've gotten, and we're very happy to keep the site going. So I have a piece on there for Cherry Hill's next mayor, 5 Big Worries. And you may say to yourself, well, why would I care about Cherry Hill, New Jersey? I mean, I don't live there. I'm in New Jersey, but what do I care? Well, it's the largest town between Philadelphia and the shore. In fact, I believe it's the largest town in South Jersey. Okay? And it's critical. It's a business and commerce center. And Cherry Hill has been in the grip of one-party rule for more than 40 years. More than 40 years. It's been governed basically by the same group of people. And they've got a mayoral election coming up this year. And the town is well past middle age. It adopted the name Cherry Hill more than 60 years ago. It was formerly known as Delaware Township when it was nobody really it was not a significant town when it was Delaware Township. It was still more rural community. But it grew at a phenomenal rate in the late 50s and 60s, 70s, and 80s, regularly doubling and tripling its size. And is now, as I said, a major South Jersey, perhaps the major community in South Jersey. And as I said, the town is past middle age, and it's facing challenges as it gets older. And it's had to, in a very, very competitive environment, it's had to regularly reinvent itself. And the piece that I wrote deals with the challenges that the next mayor will face. And I enumerate 5 big challenges, 5 big ones, not the least of which is public education and the public schools. But the others involve traffic, business and commerce, and, for lack of a better term, the upkeep of the town itself. So I commend that to you. It's on my website at dancerucci.com. There's another piece that I wrote, which appeared in the Broad and Liberty website and also appeared on my website. And this one had to do with the nearby state of Pennsylvania and the election of their new governor, again, another Democrat, Josh Shapiro. And I point out the differences and similarities between Josh Shapiro and another Governor Shapiro who was elected governor 50 years ago in Pennsylvania. And that is Governor Milton Schaap, whose real name was Milton Shapiro. Not many people know this. Governor Schaap was considered quite a successful governor for Pennsylvania. And in fact, he even ran for president. There's been some talk that Josh Shapiro wants to run for president, although, of course, he steadfastly denies it, which is very often an indication that a person actually is running, okay? In the curious world of politics, my friends, the very fascinating and curious world of politics, where you should never necessarily believe whatever you see or hear or think you see or hear. But anyway, I wrote this piece. It was on my website, and then it was picked up by the wonderful, wonderful site, Broad and Liberty, which you can go to and you can find Broad and Liberty. It's a Philadelphia-based website that has a lot of interesting commentary and article, and also breaks news from time to time, interesting news. So I commend that to you. And I also hope that you're following our dear friend Christine Flowers. Christine Flowers, who writes for the Delaware County here in suburban Philadelphia, Delaware County Daily Times. She's on fairly regularly on the Channel 6 Sunday commentary program, Inside Story, on 6 ABC here in Philadelphia, on television, conventional television. Remember conventional television, regular, television, not cable television, not streaming, just regular mass market television station. she's on there. And I have to say, and she's both Matt and Christine are attorneys. They're wonderful attorneys. She is one of the best writers that I know. I mean, most thought-provoking, accomplished, entertaining writers that I know. And I would urge you to follow her, Christine Flowers. Flowers is spelled just like flowers, you know, the kind that bloom. On Facebook and Twitter. And her writings also occasionally appear at Broad and Liberty. And her stuff really, her writings have appeared in newspapers and on websites all over the country. So pay attention to her as well. These are two people that I've mentioned who are near and dear to me, and whose views to a large extent I share. Of course, we don't always agree on everything. I mean, it would be pretty dreary if we did. We're not lefties. We're not liberals, where we toe a line and refuse to hear any other point of view. That's never been our approach. And God, I hope it never will be, because we're moving too far in that direction already. We've moved too far in that direction. I recently went to a live appearance by the presidential candidate, Vivek Ramaswamy. I hope I pronounced his name right. I'm not sure I could spell his name, but I hope I pronounced it right. And he said two things that really, really impressed me. He had been in Philadelphia for the day. He spent the day in Philadelphia. And I went to see him at an appearance where he spoke at the end of the day. And the first thing he said was that he had gone, in the course of the day, he had gone to the Kensington area of Philadelphia, which is basically an open-air drug market now. It's an open-air drug market. It's very, very sad, very depressing. As I understand it, these addicted people are provided with clean needles and so forth, and they operate in broad daylight. And he said it was very, very sad to witness. And the addicted people there were very, very sad. And he said that as he watched it, he thought that in many ways, their plight mirrored the plight of our country. The plight of our country. That our society is sick. And that our country is sliding downward, going in the wrong direction. And that stuck with me when he talked about that. And the other thing that he said is that he said, when people are afraid to speak out, when they're not only fearful of saying something, they're actually fearful of even thinking something. That's the beginning of the end of democracy, he said. That's the beginning of the end. And he said he was very worried that we seem to have entered that time when people are afraid. They're afraid to not just to say something, which is bad enough. They're almost afraid to think something. I saw somebody advertised a T-shirt online, and it said, "Think freely while it's still legal." Something to that effect, something like that. Think freely while it's still legal. Can you imagine? But when you look at what has happened to people, how some people have been shut out and muzzled, have lost their jobs, have been ostracized for things that they said or wrote or posted online. This is really something to worry about. This is really something to worry about. And many people have called it, the new McCarthyism. Another friend told me that he has speaking of McCarthyism, that he has 2 children in high school or junior high, middle school they call it now. And he mentioned McCarthyism, and they didn't know what it was. They didn't know what McCarthyism was. They didn't know about that whole period in our history. Can you imagine a young person getting to high school and not knowing about such a critical period in our nation's history? Pretty serious, folks. That's pretty serious. You have to wonder we know that they're not being taught the basics in schools. They're not being taught the basics anymore. I think it's awful that elementary school kids are not taught cursive writing. Actual writing, handwriting. It's not a good situation. I'm going to check one more time. I've got no response. This hasn't happened to me before. This is definitely a first. But we've had a nice time, haven't we? It's been swell being with you tonight and having this chance to talk to you directly. And this is on Facebook. It's on Twitter. It's also on my YouTube channel. I hope you'll share it with people. I want to end on a happy note with what happened at the Phillies game. I guess it was last night. And I'm not a sports fan. I don't really follow these things very closely. But I would have to be in a cave somewhere not to know about this. I almost heard the screaming and carrying on from the stadium from my house here. The no-hitter by a pitcher who was pitching his first game as a Phillies player, as I understand it. And another young player that I think it was his first at bat that hit a home run. He had been in the minors for quite a while and was called up by the Phillies. And it was just historic. It was only the 16th no-hitter in Phillies baseball history, and the first no-hitter by a new pitcher or something like that in more than 60 years. Baseball is all, I don't know anything about sports, but I do know that baseball's all about statistics. So there's a lot of statistics attendant to this. I'm sure many of you have read about it or seen it. I posted a couple of clips on my website, dancerucci.com. I don't usually put sports things up there, but this was so phenomenal and so inspiring and so exciting and so uplifting. It was uplifting, which is something that we need now. We need to be uplifted, don't we? So let's end on a happy note with those stories. The Phillies, as I understand it, are like 3.5 games ahead in the wild card race. I don't want to say too much more about it. I don't want to jinx it. Let's leave it at that. I don't have a response from our guest, but we've managed to have a nice evening here. I want to make sure we were actually up on, yes, we have been on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm going to make sure that it's open for everyone to see. And I say to you, good night. Enjoy the rest of your week and the rest of your summer. And I hope to be back with a guest the next time. Oh, I meant to tell you, Matt Rooney and I are going to jointly do interviews starting in September with various legislative candidates in New Jersey, leading up to the upcoming New Jersey statewide elections. Now, you're not going to want to miss that, because when Matt and I get together to chat with people, it's always fascinating and always interesting because we play off one another and, we bring the best questions and scrutiny to our guests. So that's going to start in September next month. And it's probably going to be here. You'll be able to see it here, and you'll be able to see it at savejersey.com. It'll probably be on Tuesday or Wednesday nights. So I wanted to remind you about that too. And oh, wait, I think our guest may. La, Dan, I just was stuck rounding up escape cows and lost track. Is it too late? I'm ready. Oh, great. No, it's not too late. Come on in. Our guest is here, folks. Let's see if we can link him up. Let's see if we can link him up. Thanks, he says. Okay, he should be in the studio any minute. Well, I did a pretty good job filling in, didn't I? I hope I gave you a lot of good information. Let's see. He should be coming in any minute. I'll send him the link again. Bear with us. And we'll get Joe Labarbera in here. Labarbera or Labarbera. I'm going to have to ask him the correct pronunciation of his name. He's a really interesting character. I wish I had a little music to play, a little musical interlude. What kind of music would I play here? Well, I'm going to have a little drink of water while we're waiting. This is what happens in August. You take out a ice cold water and you leave it sit there for a while, and suddenly it's not as cold as you thought it was, even though you're sitting in air conditioning. Let's see. Coming in now. Okay, Joe, let's go. We're waiting. Here we are.
Hey,
Oh,
sir,
there
can
you
you hear
are.
me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Got to get the voice going, I think. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hello,
Hello?
hello,
Yeah, gotcha,
hello.
gotcha.
Okay, good.
Sir, I
So,
apologize. I
Joe,
had two cows get out. So, hello?
so you said you were chasing a cow?
Yes.
What happened?
Yeah, I was chasing two cows. I had two cows escape. So I had to run out and get them. And then when I came back in and threw on a shirt to come down here for the interview.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? I have just improvised and filled 43 minutes. Don't ask me how I did that. I'm not I'm not hearing
Well,
you.
thank you. And I apologize again. As I was getting the cows in, I lost track of the time. So
Uh, Well, you've got your hands full there, huh? Our connection, our connection. Let me see our connection. Personal hotspot.
a slow disruption to the internet.
Our connection. He disappeared. Well, we lost him. I will wait a little while longer, folks, before I end the broadcast. He may come back in.
A lot better. How's that?
Oh, that's much better.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's much better. That's
Sir,
much
I
better.
apologize. Like I said, I had to chase some livestock down, and I lost track of the time doing it because I got too busy moving them to another paddock to keep them secure. So my apologies of losing track on the time. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, so everybody now, Joe, I got to make sure that tell me if I mispronounce your name. I'm here with Joe Labarbera. Is that
Perfect.
right? Oh, I
Perfect.
can't believe it. I can't believe it. Well, I should be able to pronounce it. I mean, with a name like Cerrucci, I should be able to pronounce a name like La Barbera, right?
One would think. Where in Italy are your family from?
Well, my mother's family was from Ascoli Piceno, which is north of Rome. And my father's family was from the Molise region in the mountains. Okay. So I haven't been back to those particular towns, although I've been to Italy several times. And you've been there?
Oh yeah, multiple times, probably about 6 times in total. And life must have been really hard there for them to have left because that's one of the most beautiful, wonderful countries and places I've ever seen.
Yes, it is. It's spectacular. In fact, the glasses that I'm wearing, I bought in Milan.
Oh,
And
Milan?
yeah, in Milan. Yes. Yes, I recently.
There. I have a cousin who's Sicilian, but he's an engineer in Milan, retired, and he took me around and gave me a tour of that city. I love that city. There's a restaurant there dates back to the 1500s. One of the best restaurants I've ever eaten at in my life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful, very sophisticated, very cosmopolitan city.
Hmm.
It's really, really lovely. So, Joe, you have such an interesting background. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you.
Thank you.
Um, you, I call you the cerebral farmer because how many farmers have an MBA and how many have been in combat, have been soldiers, have been in the military for how many years, Joe?
21.
21 years. And, I've got to figure that's an important part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I had a calling to serve in the military from the age of 6. I was telling everybody I wanted to be a commando, a captain, a marine, this childish stuff. And I went into junior ROTC in high school, and I just ended up following it. It was my passion. There was never any doubt in my mind that that was what I was meant to do.
Well, where did that come from, that desire to be in the military?
I, you know, there's a couple of things. I think some of it's just in the blood. I come from a line of military men, not career military men, but people who've done things relative significance in the militaries, in various militaries, because they go back to Italy. And
Right.
then, I had an uncle who was a World War II vet, and he fought in the Battle of the Bulge, and he made a strong.
Uh-huh.
And then I think my father's own experiences as well. And then who knows, the movies you saw, watching G.I. Joe growing up. But I always like to push things. I always like to take things as far as they could possibly go. I never liked sanitized or fake. I like authenticity. So the military,
Uh-huh.
it's nothing but authenticity. There's no sanitized fakeness there. So I love that about the military.
And the regimentation of it agreed with you?
It actually is. It's actually very liberating. The discipline is a means to freedom, and I always saw it that way. In that, to have things to where you could depend on a routine and depend on a system that was unfailing, that gave you freedom to accomplish so much and do so much. That's why there's an old expression in the military: we do more by 5 a.m. than most people do all day, and it's because everything works. And that's one of the things I loved about the profession.
They say that, and you were a Marine, okay?
Yeah,
And they say that the military trains you to be a leader.
it does.
Okay. So now, but are you concerned about what you see happening to the military today?
It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. It's like watching. Imagine having something you love more than anything, something that you believed in, deteriorate. What I'm seeing happen is the institution and the profession have basically parted ways. The institutional military now has become so corporatized and so lack of disingenuine. And then the profession of arms, it's very hard to see where the profession of arms and the institutional military meet anymore. It's becoming further and further apart.
But Joe, the military has always been very political, hasn't it?
Yes, well, it's the instrument of politics. As Clausewitz said, war is politics continued by other means. So the military's traditionally been the instrument of politics, and in the history of republics, the any political inclinations amongst the military have always been discouraged. There was a saying, "We burn our cloaks before we enter Rome," saying that about the Roman army. So, because in a republic and military, that's why Washington and the founders didn't want a standing army, because the military's existence is a threat to a republic.
Um, it's not a pure meritocracy.
Not at all. Not at all. It's a merit gets you in the door, but the military is tribal. So, based on your credentials within those tribes and those you're attached to within those tribes and those you serve in those tribes, that's instrumental to determining your arc in the military.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And Joe, I can tell you've studied history. You're a student of history.
Any military professional should be a historian. I've seen lots of so-called successful military professionals who get promoted and do great things, and the lack of history always bites them in the rear end. The lack of them understanding history.
What happened to America in the Vietnam War? Why did it turn out the way it did?
I wasn't there, obviously. I defer.
That's my generation's war. That's why I'm asking.
Well, I mean, my generation in the military, we were the I guess the figurative sons of the Vietnam generation, because the Vietnam generation that stayed in created the military that raised me to be trained me. The concepts and the lessons of Vietnam were what established the culture of the military of the 80s and 90s. So I defer of all the opines on what happened to the U.S. military in Vietnam. I defer to David Hackworth, who was the most decorated American soldier living. And he was a fascinating story. Went from private to full bird colonel, successfully commanded 2 battalions in Vietnam, and then toward the end of it, when he made full bird colonel, he came out and got on television and denounced the Vietnam War, causing massive retaliation from the army against him. And he actually became an anti-war pacifist.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So Hackworth's point was that the U.S. Army transitioned in the late 50s into an army that was no longer about the profession of arms. It was a corporatized army about basically a testing ground or an avenue for the defense industrial complex. So keep an institution that would keep demanding upon the taxpayer to produce a lot of stuff that we really didn't need for national defense. The military had to destroy the kind of ingenuity and spirit that had been the staple of the American officer. The Pattons, the Marshalls, the MacArthurs, those guys get stifled, they get crushed. And what gets raised in the military is the Byzantine minion, who then works. Now, not all, believe me, there's a lot of great generals in the U.S. military.
Right.
But for the most part, the military became very politicized because it became a tributary or it became an offspring of the defense industrial complex.
And this, of course, was exactly what Eisenhower warned about in his farewell address when he went out of office. And he, of course, was a career military guy. I just saw a play off Broadway about Eisenhower. It's a one person play, which the guy, of course, plays Ike, and it's called Eisenhower, This Piece of Ground. And it's a fascinating, taken from Eisenhower's own writings. But he warned about the military-industrial complex and basically what you might call the corporatization of the military.
Yes. No, he did. He came out in the open. He made a public speech about it. I wish it would have been heeded, and maybe if Kennedy would have lived, it would have been. Eisenhower himself, he saw it used to be where the War Department, what became the Department of Defense, they were the tail that wagged the dog, and then now we have the Defense Industrial Complex. That is the tail that waves the dog. So one can say we traded occasional big, devastating wars for lots of small, endless, minor wars. So is that a good trade-off or not? My view is you mix nukes into the equation, and now we're looking at the destruction of humanity. It's not a good trade-off. It's not a good trade-off at all.
We could talk only about this subject. We could talk endlessly about this subject. But you're up there in Sussex County, which for people that aren't familiar, it's in the northernmost part of the state of New Jersey. It's in the upper northwest corner, and it's in the most densely part of the state, in the most densely populated state in the Union. It's a largely rural area. It's one of the smaller counties in New Jersey. I think it's like the second or third smallest. You've got a lot of space up there, a lot of land. You have your own portion of it where you're farming. It's an anomaly in New Jersey in many, many ways that I've just pointed out, but also in this way as well. It is a solidly Republican county in a very blue state. What the hell is going on up there in Sussex County, Joe?
Well, we're still we haven't been corrupted yet, so that's the first thing. And then I would challenge the notion that New Jersey's a blue state. Currently, I'm building in-house in the GOP an internal consultancy where I can get unpaid, honest assessments and research done focused on the ground truth, kind of like a professional think tank as opposed to the way consultancies are currently done in politics. And what we've learned is that the large unaffiliated population of New Jersey often votes Republican, and many registered Democrats vote Republican. The issue is getting the message out, because the New Jersey is some of the poorest voter turnouts in the nation. So I don't believe New Jersey is quote unquote a red state or a blue state. And I'm not going to even say a purple state. I call New Jersey an economic state. This is a state where what on people's minds is business, trade, quality of life. And I don't think either political faction has been successful in tapping into the population here.
You're the chair. You just recently became the chair of the Sussex County GOP.
Yes, sir.
How did that happen, Joe?
It shouldn't have happened. I should never have been elected chair if the status quo would have remained. But when you see the dynamic of the Democrats gaining ground, they took our three largest cities. They took Vernon, they took Newton, and they took Sparta. Now, one can parse semantics on Vernon saying that, they do have more Republicans on the council. But the fact is that Democrat policies and Democrat agendas get pushed forward, and the Republicans can't stop it. So when over half of the registered voters in the county are in the three towns controlled by Democrats, we got a problem. We got a real problem. Other problems that were going on is that people want to see action. And then, of course, the leadership is critical. And leadership has to be able to reach all bases of the Republican Party. And cliques, I think, are toxic to any organization. And leaders don't reinforce cliques. I was my last job in the Army was the Command Inspector General of the Army's National Training Center. And in any type of investigation, looking at what they call the toxic command climate, you see cliques. You see groups that ostracize talent, they ostracize other people. Now you can say, oh, well, we have a group, we do involve people, we let people be involved. But if you don't empower them, if you don't offer them a way in or a way up, if what they do isn't heeded and done, put in action, then you're going to create groups that are not going to be happy and are going to want to change. So you combine that storm, and plus I've been working in the party for a while, and I got to know people, and you create that dynamic, and then opportunities arise. And I had a lot of great supporters, that believed in what we're doing.
So, but Joe, there's been some infighting there in Sussex County in the
Yeah.
GOP.
Yes, I'm walking away from that though. We're moving forward. I am not acknowledging or recognizing the infighting, and the way to do it, like any bad unit in the military that you have to reform. What you want to do is you want to start having success, and you want to start generating productivity as quick as possible, and then you want to just move in that direction. And then, of course, I don't recognize beefs. I support everybody. I've offered up to 40% of all of our resources to one particular, the faction that's currently in elected offices. And I'm empowering people who feel disenfranchised by supporting their local races.
So you don't want to be drawn into these internecine disputes that are going on.
No, they're disgusting, childish, and stupid. And when you do the investigation, like I did, I'm an investigator by nature in the military. I did tons of investigations on internal investigations, external ones, especially as a command inspector general. You look in and you see how ridiculous they are. So the key to avoiding these kinds of disputes is transparency. So every week I send an update out to the county committee, showing how much we're spending, showing every decision that's made, showing all the personnel and resources that we have and what they're doing. So we have transparency. So when the toxic elements arise to create mischief for whatever reason that they do, the transparency is right there in black and white. And that's how I believe it should operate, always in the light, not in the dark. We do know backwards.
Politics is it's a petty, dirty business. Petty. Why the hell would you want to get involved with something like this, Joe?
I don't. This is the worst thing I could have done at the worst possible time in my life and with everything I got going on. But there were three things that happened that were significant to me. In 2018, I saw the Democrats storm our county commission building and try to cancel our county commission and stop our county commission. They were the freeholders at that time, and stop them from passing a resolution. They were screaming, they were yelling, they were trying to say it was a fire hazard. They were bussed in from out of the county. It was being run by the old regime of the Sussex Democratic Party. I went there with some other activists, and we fought and we stopped, and the county did pass their resolution. So I saw the Democrats try to overthrow an elected established body of my community, and that, to me, that was a declaration of war. I didn't fight 54 months in combat to come home and see that happen. That was the first thing. So we had to, over the next year and a half, chase the out of county Dems out of the county by challenging them and exposing them. And then the next thing is when I saw that primary that we had, and it was just so utterly barbaric and so utterly toxic. What was going to be the solution? Two warring factions trying to rip their heads off for the rest of the time. The Dems will smell blood. They'll come in and they'll pick us apart. Like I said, they got our three. People say, "Oh no way a Dem could win in Sussex County." Yeah, when they got Sparta, Newton, and Vernon, it's only a matter of time. And if we don't start having strong candidates, and if we we got strong candidates, but if we don't start being strategic about the candidates we have and how we approach in our messaging, the Dems will win. It's possible. So
you've got to be united.
You do.
You know what? I was speaking to a group of Republicans down here in the southern part of the state not long ago. I'm down here in Cherry Hill in Camden County, which is, we're under the control of, we basically live in a kingdom here under the control of a brass-knuckled Democrat boss. And I'm not even going to, I won't even mention his name. But I was speaking to a group down here in South Jersey, where they've had some of these squabbles within the party, within the Republican Party. And I said, if you keep fighting amongst yourselves as Republicans, you are simply fighting over who gets the right to lose. That's
Brilliant.
what you're fighting about. Who
Brilliant.
gets the right to lose? Is there anything more ridiculous than fighting over who gets the right to lose?
Nope. It's the epitome of stupidity.
And now you're seeing the battle lines being drawn for the next gubernatorial race.
Yeah.
In New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I take it you're not going to pick a horse on that.
As the party chair, it'd be very inappropriate for me to do that. It'd be very inappropriate because I have to marshal resources behind whoever the winner of the primary is. I'm happy with who's offering. I mean, I'm happy. I think it's a no-lose situation, no matter so far what it seems to be. Who seems the likely contenders? It seems a win-win situation for a number of reasons. So, I think all candidates who want to try for governor, total access to Sussex. I'm giving them total support, total open invitation to anything we do, and I'm getting great support from them. So I'm happy with it.
Yes, you have an event coming up in September. You got a big event coming up. Tell us about it. It's I think I had it right here. It's on September 7th at the Crystal Springs Resort and up there in Hamburg. Tell us about it.
Yes, thank you. So I believe the most decisive issue of our time is parental rights, because in any kind of tyranny, in any kind of social societal collapse, when the parents when the state takes over morality, when the state takes over the education of children and starts indoctrinating them to any one way of looking at things, other than, of course, patriotism in traditional history, then I believe what we have happen is you destroy generations and you divide families, and families are the bedrock of any society. If you destroy the family unit, you don't have a society. So I believe what's going on in the schools right now, especially in blue states like New Jersey, is they are amping up this thing because the wokeists and the extremists have taken over the Democratic Party. So throwing a lot of resources and effort behind parental rights. So our event on the 7th is going to be giving out awards and plaques and recognizing activists who have taken on the devil, basically, in the parental rights fight. These are people whose children have been bullied. These are people who their jobs have been attacked, their businesses have been attacked. These are people who've personally been slandered, insulted, and threatened, and they have not wavered. They have not wavered. They have kept up the fire and stood up for our kids. So I'm going to recognize them on the 7th. And Bill Spady is going to come and he's going to speak about parental rights. And we're going to use this as a way to unify our parental rights groups into one focused momentum.
It sounds fantastic. It sounds like a fantastic event. Wait a minute. I'm looking at something here. Okay. So, what was the next thing I wanted to ask you? Oh, you have described yourself as a precision agriculture activist. What the hell does that mean, Joe?
What it means is the United States agricultural system is designed to produce cash crops to basically beat the old Soviet Union with exports to undeveloping nations. And we surrendered our ability to create farming and create agriculture to sustain our own communities, because we're now importing up to 25% of our own food. That's like civilization ending levels. The Roman Empire, according to Adrian Goldsworthy, at its height, only imported 13% of their food. So we're in a difficult situation that's dependent on a global balance of power that's fragile, as we saw in COVID. There are nations out there that come very close to our agricultural GDP that are the size of Maryland. For the Netherlands, for example, Europe's very, very effective at farming, and they produce for themselves. Their governments subsidize and secure and enable their agricultural industries, and they do it through very smart technological advances, basically using sensors combined with agronomists to give assessments that eliminate farmers' operational costs. the world's farmers, the developed world's farming communities see Americans as an agricultural community that's wasteful and basically disoriented and also dependent on middlemen, overly dependent on middlemen. And they see it dominated by a few oligarchical monopolies. They call them the big four in agriculture. Precision agriculture enables the small farmer to compete. So as if you can cut the operational costs dramatically for a small farmer, and then you can create a supply chain where the farmer can go straight to the community and not have a middleman. If you and then you will then create a dynamic where the farmer's empowered and we don't have to import food anymore, really. So the government offers funding for this, and private equity firms are looking at options to invest in this. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring that into Sussex, Warren, and I want to talk to Hunter about it as well. And I want to get this started. I've been doing this now for the 3 years, and now I see talking about doing it.
And our small farmers in New Jersey are in jeopardy. They're really at risk at this point. I mean, they're dwindling.
Well, truthfully, there's a very few small farms that truly make profits. Most farms are like me. They do it on the side, but if that was my only income, I'd be dead. And the reasons, the supply chain, the middlemen that you have to go through, and then the operational costs are so significant. So the small farmer in New Jersey is almost a dinosaur. And we don't even have big farms. Out west in the middle and Midwest have big farms. Agriculture, and I know this is going to be refuted and disputed. I don't care. Agriculture is dying in New Jersey. It's dying. It's dying because instead of improving our agricultural lot and then making us an export state, we're seeing farms drop off more and more and more and more. And then the actual farming we have in terms of it's interesting. The highest yielding, according to the New Jersey Department of Agriculture, the highest yielding or revenue producing industry is the horse industry in New Jersey because of the high-end horse stables, the equestrian, and then so that is actually, and then you have fisheries. We have the potential to not just be a crop state, but an aquaponics state and a cattle meat state and a dairy state. We need help. We need help from the government to get us out of the current complex supply chain that currently exists and get us to where we are. People in New Jersey are buying almost all local, but we need to make it convenient for them. And this is where good government in the conservative fashion comes into play, because good government streamlines the economy and facilitates the economy. It doesn't handicap the economy or constrain the economy the way the Democrats do.
And you've lost a lot of dairy farms up there in Sussex County.
Yeah, they can't compete. They can't compete with Canadian milk.
Well, why did you go into farming, Joe?
To bring my family back to the land. Even though I grew up on Staten Island, and then
Some New Yorkers regard Staten Island as the country, you know.
When my father moved to Staten Island in the early 60s, they actually had a game warden.
There you go, you see? But you wanted to bring your family back to the land. Go ahead.
Well, my grandfather did olives in Sicily, and my father's father did olives in Sicily, lost everything because of World War II. And my mother's grandfather was a rancher in Texas and lost everything because of the Dust Bowl and the Depression. And we grew up in my family all under the lore is that we wanted to get back to the land. We wanted to get back to the land. You know, this is who we are. We're really a people of the land, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I said, screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I started messing around with it. My last few years in the Army, I built 2 orchards successfully. I started raising sheep, and I'm like, I really love this stuff. I really love this stuff. So that's how I got here.
Amazing. It's just an amazing, and this is your passion now.
If it wasn't for all the other pragmatic things in life, I'd be a rancher somewhere, a cowboy. Yeah.
Well, you could always go to Texas. You know, I'm an honorary Texan.
Oh, are you? Good.
I'm an honorary Texan, yes. I don't look or seem like a Texan, but I was made an honorary Texan by the then Governor Rick Perry, and I have my papers to prove it in the state legislature of Texas. Yes, yes. I happen to have I happen to know some people in Texas who became very fond of me. I can tell you this much about Texas. If people in Texas like you, they really, really, really like you. And if they don't like you, watch out.
Yeah, my
But
mother was
Joe,
you know.
yeah, it's been wonderful chatting with you tonight. This has been live on Facebook and on Twitter. You'll be able to share it onto your website,
Oh,
okay?
thank you.
And you'll also be able to take the embed code of it and place it wherever you want. Although the first 45 minutes, 43 minutes were just me chatting away, jabbering away, waiting for Joe to come on here. I
Apologize.
did have faith. I did have faith that he would eventually appear.
Yeah, I apologize about that. I got all wrapped up in separating my bull who had gotten in. I had two cows get out, so I had to get them, and then my bull got in the mix, and I have to keep. I want to keep them separate right now because I have two young. I have two young heifers that I don't want them touching. So I was basically running around in my muck boots chasing a bull, and then I'm like, "Oh no, my interview! Damn!" So I run inside, I throw on a nice shirt, and here I am. So thank you so much for your patience, sir. Thank you.
So don't call me sir, please. And also you had a problem with a fox there, didn't you?
Oh, I have lots of problems with foxes.
Yeah.
They're the predators here in Northwest New Jersey are out of control. I've been all over the country. I've never seen the amount of foxes and weasels, coyotes. I mean, eagles, hawks.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
This is New Jersey, folks. Can you believe this is happening in New Jersey? This
Hmm.
is why this is why I never run out of topics and never run out of fascinating people to talk to right here in New Jersey. Okay.
I have
And
a
and and
dead tree in the swamp on the north side of my property. Very
oh,
tall. Bald eagle perches on that dead tree, and he will swoop down on the pasture, nail a squirrel, a chipmunk, and boom, gone. And it's just a pleasure to watch.
oh my Lord.
Mhm.
What these are just wonderful, wonderful stories. And I've so enjoyed chatting with you. And I hope at some point we'll be able to do this again, Joe.
Anytime, sir. Anytime. And I promise I won't be late next time. Thank you.
No problem. And this is also, I'm also going to place this on my website at dancerucci.com. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. And excellent job and excellent work. I'm a big fan of everything you do. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Good night.
Good night, Dan. Bye.
Bye.